The air inside the alien chamber was cool and quiet. Strange glowing lines moved across the dark stone walls like tiny rivers of light. Jake Carter, a human diplomat, stood in the center of the hall, feeling out of place. Around him, tall and elegant alien warriors watched with curious eyes. He wasn't just the only human in the room, he was the only human on the planet. Beside him stood Kyra, a young alien woman with silver skin and sharp blue eyes. She wore a sleek battle robe and carried herself like someone with pride and strength. She had been assigned to watch over Jake, but she seemed more amused than serious about it. "This is where our ancestors trained," Kira said, waving a hand toward the armor display behind her. Jake turned. On the stone platform rested a tall set of armor, unlike anything he'd ever seen. It was smooth, metallic, and shimmered with a faint blue light. The chest piece had strange marks on it, glowing softly like they were breathing. Jake raised an eyebrow. "Looks heavy," Kyra chuckled. "It's ceremonial. Only the blood of our line can wear it." "Try it on, human," she said with a teasing smile. "Let's see if it breaks you." The other aliens in the room laughed softly. To them, it was just a joke. No outsider had ever been able to even lift the armor, let alone wear it. It was a relic from a forgotten age something, kept for tradition, not used. Jake shrugged. "All right. Why not?" He stepped up to the platform. As he reached out, the air around the armor seemed to shift. The blue light pulsed once. Then again. Kyra's smile faded just a little. "Be careful," she said quietly now. Jake grabbed the chest piece. Everyone expected it to remain still, cold and lifeless. Instead, the armor moved. With a soft hiss, the chest piece lifted into the air and split open. Strange soft energy threads reached toward Jake's chest like fingers. Jake froze. "What the hell?" he said, but it was too late. The armor closed around him in one smooth motion. It clicked, locked, and the blue glow surged brighter. Kyra gasped. The room fell silent. Jake staggered back, now fully encased in the alien armor. He looked at his hands now covered in glowing plates. "It fits." "No," one of the elder aliens said from behind. "That's impossible." The armor's glow grew. Lines of energy moved across Jake's body, scanning him. Then he heard a voice, not spoken aloud, but inside his head. Air confirmed. Bloodline recognized. Awakening protocol active. Jake blinked. Did anyone else hear that?" Kira stepped closer, her eyes wide in shock. "What did it say?" Before he could answer, a pulse of light burst from the armor, pushing everyone back a few steps. The chamber itself seemed to respond, symbols on the walls lighting up. Ancient tech systems humming to life. Kira whispered, "That armor has slept for hundreds of years. It didn't move for anyone, not even our warriors. Why now?" Jake tried to remove the chest piece. It didn't budge. "I didn't mean to do anything," he said. "You told me to try it." Another elder stepped forward, eyes filled with fear. "You must come with us. Now." "Why?" Jake asked. "What's happening?" Kira looked at him with a strange mix of fear and wonder. "You don't understand," she said. "That armor belonged to a legend. A warrior who fought in the First Star War. It's not just armor, it's alive, and it just chose you." Jake's heart pounded. "Chosen for what?" The elder didn't answer. Instead, the wall behind them opened with a deep groan, revealing a glowing path leading deeper underground. The armor spoke again, only to Jake. "Path of trials opening. Prove your worth, heir of flame." He looked at Kyra. "Do I have a choice?" She shook her head. "Not anymore." And so, the laughing dare that started as a joke had turned into something much more. The armor had awakened. And the human, who was never supposed to be part of this world, was now at the center of its ancient purpose. Asterisk Jake couldn't sleep. The room they gave him was quiet, but the armor still clung to his body like a second skin. It didn't hurt, but it didn't feel natural either. Every time he closed his eyes, he felt something shifting inside him, like the armor was thinking. He stood up and looked at himself in the mirror. Glowing lines still moved along the chest piece and arms. "I should be scared," he whispered, "but this feels right." Then suddenly the armor lit up brighter. "Hood," a voice said inside his head, "you are ready." Jake stumbled backward, heart racing. Who said that? No one answered out loud. But the voice came again. "Do not be afraid. You wear the flame-bound. I am its memory, its soul, its guide." Jake grabbed his head. Am I going crazy? The door burst open. Kyra stood there, panting. I felt a spike in energy. "Is it talking to you?" Jake nodded slowly. "It called itself Flamebound. It says it's alive." Kyra stepped closer, her voice soft. "Then the old stories are true." She walked toward a panel on the wall and pressed a glowing circle. The lights in the room dimmed, and a large display lit up a star map filled with warnings and red marks. "That armor was created during a time of war," Kira said. "Thousands of years ago, during the War of Silence. Our people were being wiped out by a shadow enemy from beyond the stars. Flamebound was built to bond with a chosen warrior, one with the courage to stand alone." Jake looked down at his hands. "I'm not a warrior." The voice returned. "You will become one. I have begun the bonding. You must pass the trial of echoes." "What trial?" Jake asked. Kyra looked nervous now. "It's a place deep underground. A test. The last chosen warrior went in and never came back." Jake's heart sank. Before he could respond, a sharp sound rang through the air alarms. Kyra rushed too. The wall screen again. Red symbols flashed. "They're here," she whispered. Jake frowned. "Who?" Kyra turned to him slowly. "The Order of Purity. A group of alien purists who believe only our kind should touch sacred relics. They must have learned the armor chose you." Jake's pulse sped up. "What are they going to do?" She looked him in the eyes. "They'll try to kill you before. The bonding is complete." The armor flared again, brighter now, and the voice echoed with strength. "Then we fight." Kyra pulled Jake by the arm. "We have to move now." The two ran through narrow halls beneath the alien stronghold. Guards were already clashing with dark-armored soldiers from the Order. Energy blasts lit the shadows. Kyra gave Jake a small weapon. "You're going to need this." He looked at the weapon, then at the glowing armor on his arms. "I think I already have something better." In the middle of the chaos, Jake raised his arm. The armor responded, forming a glowing shield in front of him. An enemy shot a plasma bolt, but the shield absorbed it completely. Kyra stared. "You don't know how to use it, but it knows how to protect you." Jake smirked, adrenaline rising. "I'll take it." They reached a locked chamber. Kyra placed her hand on the scanner. The door opened with a deep growl, revealing a lift. "This will take you to the trial chamber," she said. Jake stepped inside. The door closed between them. She placed her palm on the glass. "Come back alive, Jake." He nodded. "I'll try." As the lift dropped into darkness, the armor's voice spoke again, calm but powerful. "Heir of Flame, prepare. Your trial begins now." The floor lit up. Strange symbols covered the walls. The air grew heavy. Then, without warning, everything went dark. Jake opened his eyes and found himself in a completely different place. He was standing in a vast forest, trees glowing blue, shadows whispering between the leaves. But there was no floor, only stars below his feet. "Where am I?" He whispered. The armor answered. Inside the echo, your mind is the key. Your fear is the enemy. Suddenly, a figure stepped from the trees. It was himself, but older, stronger, and angry. Jake raised his arm slowly. The trial had begun. Jake stared at the version of himself standing a head older, battle-worn, with eyes that held fire and pain. The strange forest around them felt alive. Trees whispered in voices he didn't understand. Light flowed like mist through the leaves. Beneath his feet was no ground, just stars, flickering endlessly below. What is this place? Jake asked. A memory, a test, a mirror, the armor whispered inside his mind. This is the trial of echoes. The older Jake stepped closer. He had a long scar across his cheek and wore a darker version of the flame-bound armor, heavier, colder, angry. You don't belong in this suit, the double said. You're weak. You came here by accident. Jake's heart pounded. I didn't ask for any of this. The double moved fast, swinging a glowing blade made of the same armor light. Jake barely raised his arms to block. The real armor responded, building a small shield just in time. The trial has begun, the voice inside said. You must survive your own doubt. Jake stumbled back. The fake version of him didn't stop. Each strike came faster, sharper, stronger. But the armor kept up, reacting to every motion Jake made. I don't know how to fight. Jake shouted. But you know how to survive, the armor replied. Jake rolled to the side, ducking a blow, then let the armor guide his arms. It formed a blade of its own, thin and glowing. He didn't know the moves, but something inside him did. His body moved on instinct. Strike, block, step, turn. He was no warrior, but he was learning. Suddenly, the double froze. Then it shattered into light, thousands of small blue sparks rising into the sky. Jake fell to his knees, breathing hard. The armor said, the first test is passed, but the echo is not finished. The stars beneath Jake shifted, and the dream forest dissolved. Now, he stood in a giant hall, where hundreds of alien warriors stood silently around him, watching, judging. Their eyes were hollow. Their bodies shimmered like ghosts. One stepped forward, a tall female figure. Her armor looked like Kyrus, but older, more regal. Her voice rang through the hall. You wear the armor of my line. Why? Jake stood up slowly. I didn't steal it. I didn't even mean to wear it. It chose me. The ghostly warrior's eyes narrowed. Then prove you are worthy. From behind her, a massive creature appeared, 8 feet tall, covered in dark spikes. Its body twisted with shadow energy. Jake's eyes widened. That's not fair. The warrior raised her hand. Neither was the war. The creature roared and charged. Jake's armor responded, instantly spinning a shield into place and launching. A burst of light had knocked the beast back. He ran toward a wall and let the armor boost his jump, flipping over the enemy's next strike. The crowd of spirits watched in silence. Every move became easier now. The armor wasn't just helping. It was working with him. It remembered how to fight. And now it was passing that memory to him. Jake struck hard, driving the blade into the monster's chest. It exploded into shards of shadow and vanished. Silence. Then the ghostly warrior bowed her head. You are not like the others. You are something new. All the spirits faded into light, one by one, until Jake stood alone in the glowing chamber. A soft wind blew. Then a new voice spoke, not from the armor, but from deep inside the chamber walls. One trial remains. The walls melted into mist. Jake was back in the forest of stars, but now he stood before a massive door. Carvings ran along the stone surface, ancient and unreadable. The door pulsed softly with blue energy. The armor spoke one last time. Behind this door is the memory of the first wielder. Step through, and your bond with Flamebound will be complete. Jake took a deep breath and pushed it open. He found himself standing in space, not a room, not a world, just space in a single battle. He floated, watching as the first wielder of Flamebound, an alien warrior with Kira's same silver skin, fought 100 enemy ships alone. Her armor burned with power. She shouted names Jake couldn't understand. But her last words rang clearly. Protect the one who carries my blood. And when they return, let the flame rise again. Jake's eyes filled with light. Then darkness, then silence. He woke up back in the trial chamber, gasping. The armor no longer glowed faintly. It shone bright, pulsing like a heartbeat. Kyra was kneeling beside him. You passed, she said. The armor has fully accepted you. Jake sat up slowly. I saw her, the first one, the warrior who started it all. Kyra nodded. That was my ancestor. Jake stared at the armor on his hands. I think. She just passed it to me. Jake couldn't breathe, not because of the armor, but because of what he had seen inside the final trial. His hands trembled as he sat alone in the glowing chamber. Kira had stepped outside to give him space. The vision from the armor wouldn't. Stop replaying in his mind. A star system burned. Planets cracked. Millions screamed dot, and then came the shadow. Not a ship. Not a species. But something cold, endless, and dark like space itself had teeth. The armor had shown him what was coming. Door opened, and Kyra returned with someone new, an older alien, with pale skin and deep scars across his face. His robes were marked with gold thread. He walked slowly, but his eyes were sharp. Kira bowed her head. This is Elder Varn. He was once part of the council. He's the only one who still studies the old prophecies. The elder looked at Jake, silently for a long moment. Then he spoke. You saw it, didn't you? Jake nodded slowly. A shadow, like a living black hole. It destroyed everything. Elder Varn sighed. Then the Flamebound chose you for a reason. He walked to a nearby wall and placed his hand on a glowing panel. A star map lit up similar to the one Jake saw before, but older, with sections labeled in symbols. Varn pointed to a red-marked region. This is where the last signal was recorded from the ancient enemy. We thought they were gone. Jake swallowed. They're not. Varn turned toward him. The armor remembers them. It was built to fight them. But it needs more than just strength. It needs someone who understands pain, survival, and choice. Kara glanced at Jake. That's why it chose a human. Jake stood. So what now? Varn's voice grew heavy. Now we prepare for war. And you must learn what the armor hasn't shown you yet. Later that night, Jake sat with Kira near the top of a crystal tower. Below them, the alien city shimmered in soft blue lights, but the stars above looked quieter than usual, as if the galaxy itself was holding its breath. I didn't ask for this, Jake said. Kira nodded. Neither did I. I was supposed to be a guard, not a guide to the chosen. He turned to her. Do you believe in all this? The armor? The shadow? The prophecy? She paused, then answered honestly. I believed in the armor, but not in humans, until today. Jake looked down at his armored hand. The vision felt personal, like I wasn't just watching it, like I survived it. Kara looked at him sharply. You saw yourself in it? He nodded, older, wounded, alone. I think it was the future. Suddenly, an explosion echoed in the distance. Red lights flashed across the city. Jake stood up. What's happening? A voice came over Kyra's communicator. The southern gate has been breached. Unknown energy signatures detected. It's them. Kyra's eyes widened. Already? Jake's armor reacted on its own, forming a helmet over his head and brightening like a beacon. He felt it again, the armor's voice in his mind. They are near. The shadow has sent its eyes. Jake ran after Kyra, heart racing. They reached the city's edge, where warriors were gathering. Strange black ships floated above the hills, quiet, smooth, and unnatural. One of the soldiers whispered, "No sound. No signals. Just watching." Then one of the ships opened. Something dropped out. It wasn't a soldier. It wasn't a machine. It was a shape like liquid metal mixed with smoke. No face, no voice. Just hunger. And it moved, faster than sight. It slammed into the ground, scattering defenders. Jake stepped forward without thinking. His armor reacted. Wings of energy burst from his back. A barrier snapped into place around the gate. The creature turned toward him, tilting its featureless head. Kyra shouted, "That's a scout. If it touches the city's core, it'll mark us forever." Jake raised his hand. A spear of light formed. In his palm, he threw it. It pierced the creature's center. The thing screamed, not with sound, but with pressure. The air twisted. Windows shattered. Then it vanished. The silence afterward was deep. Kira stepped up beside Jake. That was just one. And it was a scout. Jake looked into the sky. More black shapes were forming in the distance. He whispered, "This is only the beginning." The armor pulsed. "Then we end what they started." Asterisk blood. Not his. Jake stood over the fallen body of an alien guard, one of Kira's own. The guard had tried to stab him in the back while he slept. If the armor hadn't activated on its own, Jake wouldn't be breathing right now. The blade still sizzled on the ground beside him. Kira burst into the room, saw the body, and froze. "Who did this?" Jake pointed to the attacker. "One of your warriors. He didn't even say anything. He just ... tried to kill me." Kira stepped forward and turned the guard's face. Her jaw tightened. "This is Vareen. He served on the high wall. I trusted him." Jake clenched his fists. "He was going to murder me in my sleep." Kyra looked toward the door. This wasn't just him. Someone sent him. By morning, rumors had spread like fire. The armor's light had been seen from rooftops. Whispers followed Jake in the halls. Some called him a weapon, others a curse. Some bowed, but many glared. He was no longer just a visitor. He was a threat. Someone wanted him dead before the armor fully awakened. Kira met him on the bridge leading to the council tower. "I checked Vareen's quarters," she said. There was a mark on his wall. She pulled up a hologram, a black spiral curved like a galaxy being pulled into itself. Jake frowned. "What is it?" Kira lowered her voice. "A symbol of the broken oath, a secret cult. They believe our ancestors should never have trusted the stars. They think we must burn the past and close off our world forever." Jake looked away. "And I'm wearing their past on my chest." She nodded. "To them, you're the final insult." Later that day, Jake was summoned by the full council for the first time. 12 alien leaders stood in a circle, glowing symbols above their heads, marking their lineage and role. Elder Varn spoke first. "There has been blood and confusion, but we must not ignore what has awakened." Another counselor, Lady Suresh, interrupted sharply. "The human has brought only danger, assassination, chaos, a threat from the stars." "He is the answer to that threat," Varn said calmly. Jake stepped forward. "I didn't come here to lead a war, but the war is coming anyway." The council room buzzed with whispers. Suresh glared at him. "Then go back to your world. Let us face it alone." Jake raised his voice. "Your own armor chose me. You can't change that." Suresh leaned forward, cold and sharp. "Then perhaps we destroy the armor itself." The chamber fell silent. Kyra stepped between them, eyes blazing. Touch him, and you'll face me." Suresh stared at her in shock. "You'd defend a human over your own kind?" Kyra answered without hesitation. "I'd defend the truth." That night, Jake sat alone in the old armory. His mind spun. The armor pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. Then the voice returned quieter than before. "The truth must be tested. The fire must burn the mask." Jake blinked. "What do you mean?" The wall shimmered just for a moment, and Jake saw a flicker of something. Suresh, walking into the shadows, meeting with masked figures. Kyra entered moments later. "You look like you saw a ghost," Jake stood. "Maybe I did. Or maybe the armor just showed me the truth." Together, they followed the hidden tunnel beneath the city, the one Suresh had used. It led far below, through old roots of the temple, into a forgotten chamber. There, a group of robed figures stood in a circle, chanting softly. Suresh stood in the center. Jake whispered, "She's one of them." Kyra's breath caught. Then Suresh turned. "I knew you'd follow," she said. The robed figures turned, two revealing strange devices on their hands. Weapons. Suresh stepped forward. "We are the true protectors of this world. The armor is a curse. It should have remained buried." Jake's voice was calm but strong. It woke because danger is coming. Suresh's eyes narrowed. "We are the danger. We will burn every lie from our history, including you." She raised her hand and fired. The blast hit Jake square in the chest, but the armor didn't even flicker. Instead, it grew brighter. A shockwave burst outward, throwing everyone back. Kyra stood her ground beside him, blades drawn. Jake stepped forward. The armor spoke loud now, for all to hear. "The betrayer shall fall. The flame shall rise." The walls lit up with ancient symbols, and the chamber began to collapse. Jake and Kyra ran as the ceiling cracked and stone fell. Behind them, Suresh and her cult scattered. They made it out just as the ground split open, burying the old ways beneath fire and rock. Above ground, alarms rang again. But this time, it wasn't from within. It was the sky. Jake looked up. Saw ships. Not alien, not human. The shadow had arrived. Asterisk, the sky was no longer blue. It had turned a sickly shade of violet, as if something beyond the clouds had reached down and touched the atmosphere itself. Small black ships without lights, without engines, floated like silent watchers above the horizon. Everyone looked up. No one breathed. Jake stood on the city's upper wall with Kyra, his heart pounding. The armor had gone still. Not dark, but silent, as if it too was watching. "These aren't warships," Kyra whispered. "They're observers." Jake narrowed his eyes. "Spies," she nodded. "And soon more will follow." Suddenly, the armor flared, not as a warning, but like a beacon. It projected an image into the air before them. A memory, but this one didn't belong to the armor. It belonged to a human. In the glowing image, a man stood on an alien battlefield, wearing the first version of Flamebound. His face was scarred, his armor rough, unfinished, but unmistakably human. He fought beside Kyra's ancestors, shoulder to shoulder, against creatures made of smoke and fire. The vision pulsed, then ended. Jake felt dizzy. Kyra stared at him. That man, he was human. But the war he fought in happened over 2,000 years ago. Jake turned to her, slowly. "Then that means," she finished the sentence, "you're his blood." The two of them stood in silence, the air now full of cold wind. Kyra's eyes were filled with both awe and concern. "You were never just chosen," she said. "You were called back." Jake's mind raced. "But humans didn't even have interstellar travel back then." "Exactly," she said. "Which means history is lying, or someone erased the truth." Later that night, Elder Varn led them deep underground into a sealed archive known only to a few. This place, he said, was hidden after the first flamebound vanished. Inside, the walls were covered in carvings, images of warriors, fire, and stars breaking apart. At the center stood a single sarcophagus, sealed with crystal. Varn placed his hand over the seal. This belonged to the one they called the Outsider. He wore the first armor. He disappeared during the final battle. Jake stepped forward, as the seal opened. A rush of air escaped. Inside was a man-human, his armor broken and chest scorched. But his face looked familiar, not like a stranger, but like a shadow of Jake himself. Kira whispered, "You're his descendant." Jake could barely speak. "Then Flamebound remembered me." Varn nodded. "It didn't choose you? It recognized you." As Jake stared at the body of the first human warrior, the armor on his own chest began to shift, slowly transforming. New lines of light lit up across his shoulders and arms. A second layer folded over, sleeker, sharper, like it was becoming complete. The voice returned. Bonding complete. Legacy confirmed. True flame awakened. Suddenly, the ground shook. A sound deeper than thunder echoed across the planet. Kyra grabbed her blade. "They're coming." A hologram flashed from the wall, showing a fleet descending larger than any seen before. Ships shaped like claws and bones. Their engines didn't burn, they absorbed light. The shadow had arrived. For real, and they knew Jake was here. Outside, panic filled the city. Ships were preparing to evacuate civilians. Soldiers stood in formation, trembling as the enemy descended. Lightning crawled across the sky in unnatural colors, red, black, green. Jake stood at the top of the high spire. Overlooking it all, Kyra joined him. This is what they feared. The prophecy, the return of the one who wore the flame. Jake looked at her, voice calm but heavy. "I'm not ready." Kyra placed a hand on his chest plate. "Neither was my ancestor when she lit the first flame, but she did. And you will." Below them, alarms screamed. Above them, darkness spread, and within him, Flamebound burned like a rising sun. As the first wave of enemy ships descended, Jake whispered to the armor, "Show me what I need to do." And Flamebound answered, "Let the fire speak." The first enemy ship touched the ground like a whisper. No fire. No thunder. Just silence and dread. Jake stood on the edge of the command platform, wind ripping at his hair. The sky above him cracked with strange lightning. The alien city behind him had gone quiet. Soldiers held their breath. Civilians had been evacuated. Now, only the defenders remained, and at the center of them stood one human. Wearing armor made by an alien race. Built for war. Worn by destiny. "Jake," Kyra said beside him, "whatever happens, don't hold back." Jake didn't answer, because Flamebound was already speaking inside his mind. "They have returned to finish what they started. You are the last light. Burn without mercy." A second enemy ship landed. It unfolded, not like metal, but like bone-releasing black. Silent figures that glided across the ground like shadows swimming in air. Dozens, then hundreds. They didn't speak. They just moved. Forward. The horn sounded. One of the alien commanders shouted, "Form the line." But the enemy didn't wait. They moved faster than thought, striking with claws that tore through energy shields, spreading chaos with each blink. Jake stepped forward. The armor shimmered, then exploded in light. A wing-shaped burst of energy erupted from his back. Symbols glowed across his arms, pulsing like fire. He ran straight into them. What followed wasn't a battle. It was memory. The armor remembered war. Every movement Jake made was guided by the pain and rage of 1,000 warriors. His blade moved before he could think. His shield bent reality to protect those behind him. He wasn't just fighting. He was becoming the flame, a massive shadow. Creature lunged at him, 10 feet tall, its face shifting like black smoke. Jake jumped, twisting midair. His armor formed a great spear of molten light. He drove it straight through the creature's center. It screamed without a voice and collapsed into ash. Kyra joined him, blades flashing. "Nice move," Jake smirked. "Learned it from your ancestor." Together, they fought back-to-back, human and alien. Flame and blade, past and future. But more enemy ships kept landing. The ground trembled with their weight. A commander called out, "We can't hold this line." Then Jake heard it, a sound from above. A pulse. A shape broke through the clouds. Not a ship, not an enemy. A beacon formed from the same metal as the armor had risen high above the city. Flamebound whispered, "Final protocol. Light of the flame. Say the words." Jake turned to Kyra. "It wants me to activate something." She nodded. "Do it." Jake stepped onto the glowing beacon platform. He raised his right hand and shouted into the wind, "I am the flamebound. I claim the sky." Everything went white, then gold. Then fire. A massive wave of energy surged outward, lasting through the battlefield. Enemy creatures were thrown back like leaves in a storm. Ships cracked and screamed. Shadows tried to run, but were turned to. Light. The pulse didn't destroy. Cleansed. It burned the infection. The shadows had left in this galaxy for centuries. And in the middle of it all stood a single human. When the light faded, Jake fell to one knee, gasping. Kyra rushed to his side, holding him up. "It's over," she whispered. He shook his head. "No, it's just beginning." Later, the council met again, this time not in argument, but in silence. Elder Varn stepped forward. "We have seen with our own eyes what the old ones feared and hoped for." He turned to Jake. "You are no longer an outsider. You are a bridge between what we were and what we must become." Jake bowed his head. Kyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "You lit the fire again," he smiled, "and I'm not letting it go out." Asterisk, the armor didn't just choose him. It remembered him. And now, the galaxy would too. THWN